What's up, sweetie? What's up? Hmm? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am live. Today, I'd like to discuss names of power. I've been asked quite a lot lately about the differences between practicing ceremonials and doing rituals, and utilizing names of power like, say, Jehovah or Allah. Things like superiority type things within the grimoires. Now, personally, I don't find the need to use names of power, even though I know a lot of grimoires out there do. The Grand Grimoire, the Grand Grimoire, Red Dragon, the Constitution of Pope Honorius, the Clavicle of Solomon. A lot of grimoires really do, all the way up into the Magus by Francis Barrett. And I do find it amusing because of the fact that in those days, you really have to utilize what was dominant then. Otherwise, be named a hereditary type being. Someone who is ousted as a black magician, a witch. And otherwise, you'd be burned at the stake. But what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of these authors of these grimoires over the last 2,500 years, specifically the last 1,000, were actually ministers. They were friars, bishops even, of the Catholic Church. Because there were so many of them, not all of them had their own churches, so they had to perform magic. They had to find ways of feeding themselves and their families. Some of them even got into black magic. Okay? Look at the sacrificing of the nuns of Loudun, okay, Europe. Prime example how a minister sacrificed them through possessions. And I find it interesting because of the fact that there's a lot of different systems out there on magic. And one of the things that my brother brought up to me a while back was, how do you know which one to go by? You see, each one, be it Dante's, be it that of the Munich manuscript, be that of the Black Raven, perhaps even Abram Malin the Mage, all have their own hierarchy. So how do the names of power rule over them? Especially when they are different spellings of the same being. Okay? In one grimoire, it would be Astaroth, okay, being third in command. In another, it would be Alistar, okay? And another would be Astaroth or Astarte, going back throughout the ages. Go into Beelzebub, Beelzebub, okay? Same exact construct. But when doing rituals, it's a whole nother thing. Exactly, Jack. Exactly the one I was referring to. Now, the names of power normally are referenced by a Christian perspective of how to rule over a demon, force them into submission. The rod of power, for example, in dealing with Lucifer Raphael, the ancient pact maker and scribe, who was ironically the brother of Lucifer. Okay? So when we look at the Grand Grimoire for an example, one of the biggest things that I saw is the fact that it says, and I quote, in my own paraphrasing, of course, come forth and reveal. Otherwise, I will send you into eternal damnation and torment of pain and suffering. Don't you think that's a little bit condescending, little ego trip of being more powerful than a spirit. You're talking about a spirit that's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Do you really think using the term Allah, Yazad, Yahweh, would tell this being, oh, I better fall in line or pain and suffering will come to me? No. In my own personal experience when doing rituals, I do evocations. I don't have to do names of power unless I'm working with the Cabal system from the books that Sumnus Dreadwood put out. Okay. For an example, they have what is called the Shana Whispers. Okay. The whispers. Okay. Where you whisper a certain phrase, much in the same way as a mantra. Okay. In a sense, this could be classified as words of power. Okay. Out of profane seals, we see the master seal of Zazazel. Okay. Now, the phrase in that book is Lazane Kayan Nox. Okay. Lazane Kayan Nox. Okay. Could this be, you don't have to go out there and shout this at the top of your lungs out in the middle of the wilderness. You could be sitting there and just whisper it. La Zane Kayan Nox. La Zane Kayan Nox. And just repeat it like a mantra. Okay? You don't have to sit there and go and just belt it. You don't have to do anything dramatic or whatever. And you definitely don't have to sit there and threaten Zazazel with internal damnation of pain and suffering with a rod. No. In fact, it's actually a method of mutual respect. A lot of pagans and Wiccans believe that standing in the center of a circle will protect them. If they actually took the time to do the research on the altar, specifically that of a circle, they would know that it's a circle of empowerment. It amplifies the magics. Okay? The same way as words of power. Okay? You don't have to go out there and threaten a demon. You do not have to go out there and threaten an angel or a djinn. You know, I'm kind of thinking about that movie, Bram Stoker's Vampires. The one with, what's that guy's name? James Dean, or no, James something or other. He's a hell of an actor. You know, the minister was sitting there and he says, do you have any form of protection? The guy pulls out a crucifix. He says, you put that in a vampire's face, he's going to bend you over while ramming his mahogany up your anal while he's shoving that down your throat. Think of the rod as the same thing. The words of power are the exact same thing. You don't threaten a demon. They've been in this world. They know what it's about. They're on the outskirts. They know what they're doing. They know 100 times more than we do. Do you not think that they have ways around those words of power? And if they do, to quote a good friend of mine, Myrmidon Pontifex Maximus, or that of Vococolacus Aureax. Okay, and I think I'll go with Vococolacus Aureax on this one, because I believe his words in the Divine Black Flame of Satan really does fit well. Do you not think that the magic comes from somewhere? If you ask for something, if you go to, like, say, Asmodai, say, Astaroth, Aguileret, Humont, and you say, okay, let's go with Humont. Can you bring this such book to me? It's a sign of respect. Do an invocation. Call him forth. Invite him into your temple. Invite him into your world. Okay? But show him that you're willing to work with him. Respectfully. Okay? Respectfully. You don't have to sit there and say, Humont, you either bring this to me or I'm going to shove this rod up your, where the sun don't shine and threaten you into damnation of suffering and pain for all eternity. No, you don't have to do that. Okay? So, in my experience, when working with demons, when working with the jinn, when working with fallen angels, is they work on a whole nother plane. I've gone to the 9 kings of the Goetia, and I've asked them for their help. And they've helped me. Not in the way that I would have expected them to. Okay? Because when I go to them and I invoke them, I conjure them, I evoke them. Okay? Let's say, for an example, if I have a court date in the morning. Okay? Tonight I'd go in and I just lay it all out and say, hey, Payaman, great king, lord of persuasion of men's mind. Boleth, great king of change. Belial, great king, master. I've got this issue where I have to be in court in the morning. Can you help me? I don't know what to do. My back's against the wall. I've tried everything. No one's listening. I need your help. Because if I don't do this, then this is going to happen. Okay? Now, let's say, for an example, your court date's at 7:30 in the morning. You're there until, say, 1:30 in the afternoon. That's over 6 hours. And you've been called in front of the judge like 5 times. But each time, the first time, you realize, oh, they've got the wrong charge against you. Okay, so you end up pleading not guilty, and you go out and you pay the first fine, and the lawyer comes out and brings you back in, and the same thing happens again and again and again because they're finding new things out that they didn't previously know. Okay, I can tell you that this stuff really happens. I've seen it firsthand, all because I was respectful to the demons, to these great kings. I didn't threaten them. I was humble enough to go in and just lay it all out and ask them for their help. I spoke to them like I'm speaking to you right now. Okay? Just like you're talking face to face. Light the candles, the incense. Have the sigils lined up. And just call them forth. Ask them. In one case, I called just Payaman. And then I said, if the others wish to partake in this, to aid me, I would be grateful. Okay, you notice how I said that. Payaman, the Lord of Persuasion, I need your help. And if the others wish to partake in this, I will be grateful to them. Meaning, my arms are wide open and I'm welcoming them into my life to do with it as they see fit. No matter if it's possession, no matter if they're going to change the judge's mind, or maybe drop the fines to something more reasonable. Like let's say, for an example, you do something you don't mean to do an act of crime, Like let's say, for example, a woman loses a wad of cash. You give her money. And then you find out, oh shit, she's a prostitute. Okay? Well, she starts threatening you. You go to the cops and say, hey, this individual, you describe her to a T. You explain what happened. Well, they keep you there 3 hours. And then they come out and say, well, we're deciding to do what to do with you. And it's like, wait, what do you mean? I'm the victim here. She was threatening me. And then you find out, oh, you're guilty by association because you gave her the funds. Okay, you gave her money. See, that's information you didn't previously have, but once you did, you start doing research and you find out, like, say, for example, it's like $2,000 worth of fines, up to 6 months to a year in jail. Okay. That type of thing. Okay. But then when you go to, say, Paimon and you lay this stuff out, he can persuade the judge's mind, bring people in to help you. Okay. That will work with you and give you that better chance of succeeding. Okay. Then you can get into the other demonic lords, the kings, Belial, the master. Okay, for an example, the master of all things. He can get in there and twist things. And then, like I said, you'll go back and forth. And then each time you go in front of the judge explains, well, we previously didn't know this. Okay, so we're going to drop it down even further. And before you know it, that $2,000 fine is now $625. No probation, no jail time. You weren't arrested. Bam, you're in and out. Done, over with. That's what being respectful to these beings will get you. Okay, I've seen rookies go in there and they have this mind frame of, well, I'm a sorcerer, I'm mighty. No, what you are is an egotistical maniac that think you have a right to control another being. Okay, I can tell you, I've never seen one person living control one of these gods. Not one. But I've seen what these gods can do to these morons. For an example, I had this student once. She was a Wiccan. Full-fledged into it. I'm talking hardcore. But she was pushing herself beyond her limits. She was not ready for a lot of the stuff that she was trying to go into. She kept asking questions, and I finally cut her off. Her friend was a Catholic. A Catholic. And what's funny is, even though they blocked me after that, I shunned them, because if I didn't take the responsibility as the teacher and shun them, then these beings would do it for them. Okay, number one, they would whitewall them. Number two, they would go after their friends and family. And finally, third, they would go after her. Now, the funny thing is that a few years later, I came across her profile again. And the Wiccan is now a Christian. She's a Baptist. She's living down in Texas instead of Michigan. Her friend is no longer a Catholic. She's now a full-blown witch. She's into witchcraft. You see what I mean about what these gods can do to us, but we can sit there and try to control them? It doesn't go like that. These beings will work with you if you're respectful, if you're opened up, if you're willing to listen to what they have to say. For an example, I always tell my students, I will teach you as long as you're learning. When you stop learning, I stop teaching. Plain and simple. A lot of people, when they come into this, they see the names of power. They think, okay, I'm going to command this god and say, I want this now. How does it feel to want? But then they move on to another tradition because they didn't get what they wanted. You see what I mean? Words of power are a good thing, but they're also a bad thing if you don't understand what you're doing with them. Now, I can go in and contact through, say, the Grand Grimoire, okay, and contact Lucifer Drefakal. Draw the sigil, draw the name, and say the Hellgate system, perhaps Enochian, or just simply write out a pact with him. Invoke him or evoke him. Do I want to bring him through my altar? Do I want to bring him into myself? How do I want to do it? Look at him and say, hey, come forth, great one. I want to make a deal with you. I want to make a pact with you. An infernal pact. Forever legally binding. But I'm not going to go in there with that arrogance of saying, I call you forth in the name of Allah. I call you forth in the name of Elohim. I call you forth in the name of Yazad. That's condescending. It's disrespectful. But if you look at the time when these grimoires were written, you'll find out that 9 times out of 10, it was a Christian minister who wrote them. A lot of these Christian ministers are the ones who performed the black magic to begin with, because they were the only ones outside of the nobles that knew how to read and write. Okay? You put that belly in there, I'm going to get it. But you get my point. Okay? So that's been this video on names of power. I hope you learned from it, and I hope that you consider, if you're going to do a ritual with any being, be respectful. Have the proper offering. Okay? Make sure you have everything handy. And don't keep them waiting if you're going to call them for a specific task. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's a curse. It doesn't matter if it's a deal. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get into a new position at work. Okay? My son's mother will tell you flat out. She asked me to get a job. I went in, did a little ritual, called forth Asmodai, demon of desire, in the name of Astaroth. Within a week, I had a job. And that was after I left Tractor Supply, after their betrayal. Okay? So again, be respectful. Make sure you have the proper offering. Make sure you have their sigil. And don't keep them waiting. Those are the 4 tips that I want to give you, and make sure that you understand. Okay? Now, you can always get in touch with me, either here in my channel or on Facebook. Message me on Messenger. If you do Messenger, keep in mind, I tend to forget that there's another page there to get to the new, friend requests. But keep in mind that I will get to you. I always make myself available to the public. All right? So I hope this has been enlightening. I hope it's been educational. And until next time, have a good one. All right?